Hey, be sure to visit my website, www.saracarter.com. That's saracarter.com for my latest reporting and stories. And guess what? While you're there, be sure to subscribe to my email list so that we can stay in touch, so that we don't lose touch through this strange leftist magic of shadow banning. So just remember that. Go to saracarter.com, get on my email list, and we'll stay in touch. Today I'm joined by, I know this is going to be so exciting for all of you, by my friends, the chicks on the right, Mock and Daisy. They are smart American women with attitude, and they don't mind saying it like it is. That's what they do. They just say it like it is. Right? With not holding back. But, you know, it's a time that we really need to start saying it like it is. We can't be afraid anymore. And we've got to start working together. We got to start putting our brains together. I feel like I have very little brain today. I spent the last 3 days actually on the U.S.-Mexico border working late into the night. I want to thank, Texas Department of Public Safety and the Border Patrol and everyone else for taking me along with them on their very dangerous job, trying to apprehend the bad guys on the border. Those are the people that want to get away. These are about gotaways. People aren't just turning themselves in, although we're seeing tens of thousands. Well, now over 2.7 million this fiscal year. Just that little number, turning themselves into Border Patrol. But we're also seeing the gotaways. And that really concerns me. And that's what I was doing out there with them. Hey, everyone, please follow and subscribe. Get all the links at saracarter.com. That's saracarter.com. And while you are there, sign up again for that email list so that we don't get shadow banned. Before I get to Mock and Daisy, I want to talk to you a little bit about a great American company and a sponsor of this show and a friend of mine, Mike Lindell. I love his products. I love my pillows. I love the sheets. I love the dog beds. Well, my dogs do love them. And I've got one of them right here in my hands and the other two are on the couch. And my kids actually love the MyPillow products. I get them for Christmas. And Christmas, by the way, is just right around the corner. And if you want to help support a great company, a company that cares about you, cares about America, then you're going to go to MyPillow. And you're not only going to go to MyPillow, you're going to go to mypillow.com/Carter to get your 60-day money-back guarantee extended. And for a limited time right now, get this, you'll get the MyPillow 6-piece towel set, which is regularly $89.98. Right now, you're going to get it for $39.98. Thank you, Mike Lindell. Right now, $39.98 at mypillow.com/Carter with the promo code Carter. You have to use my promo code Carter. There you'll find deep discounts on all MyPillow products, and you're going to get your 6-piece MyPillow towel set for only $39.98. And listen to this, you get a money-back guarantee on this, right? You're not going to find that anywhere else. Shop mypillow.com/Carter, promo code Carter. That's mypillow.com/Carter. So I just, first, let me say to all the veterans out there, including my husband, how grateful I am for all of you. This Veterans Day, on Friday, November 11th, this is a day that we remember the men and women that have fought for our nation, the people that are willing to put everything on the line so that we can live free here at home. And that's huge. That's huge now. Because we've seen what's happened across our country. And this is, a peaceful election, midterm election. But we've seen what happened, especially in Pennsylvania. I'm going to be talking to Mock and Daisy about this. The chicks on the right have a lot of opinions about what's going on and why we're seeing so many young single women, on the Democratic banner, just voting straight Democrat. A lot of this has to do with the abortion issue. And, and the lies that the Dems have been spreading, pure lies that the Democrats have been spreading about not only the issue of abortion and Roe versus Wade, being overturned, being turned back over to the states, but the lies that they're telling us about that that the Republicans, the GOP is a threat to democracy. I mean, what kind of lies are these? And how is it possible that so many Americans have bought into these lies? That they're voting into office people that do not even believe fundamentally in our Constitution. They want to see the end of the Second Amendment. They do not believe in the First Amendment. They don't want to have a free press. Are you kidding? They want to censor everything everybody is saying on Twitter, on, Instagram, on Facebook. They're totally okay with a government that lies consistently to the people. And we know this. Even the United States government has been known for some of the most outrageous lies to the American people. They're totally okay with the government dictating what you can see, what you can read, what you can hear. They're voting people into office that absolutely believe that. And they have a media establishment that supports them with this, right? The Democrats have the majority of the mainstream media. And I was really stunned. Even, I was looking at some of these crazy stories. Like there was this really crazy story in Rolling Stone magazine this week. I was actually just a couple of days ago, where it said that President Trump was mulling how he was going to arrest journalists once he goes back into office. Like he wanted to figure out what legal means would he have to basically take journalists and put them in jail, in journalism jail, I guess. It's the biggest BS story. I couldn't even believe that Rolling Stone actually published that. But what I assumed is that somebody that was close to the president leaked this erroneous story to find out who the leakers are around him. And whoever leaked that to Rolling Stone magazine, that lie, that totally crazy lie, is probably going to get fired and will not be working for President Trump anytime in the near future. And it is a lie. It is a lie. And we've seen these, consistent lies. And I remember thinking when I saw that story this weekend, and this week when everything was happening, the election cycle and, Tuesday night, and everybody's just tense. What's going on in Pennsylvania? What's going on with the Republicans? How could we have not seen this coming? It was very close races in many of these states. I was thinking to myself, well, you know what? People, if they are voting people into office that are willing to do what we've seen the left do, even under President Obama, to our country and to our Constitution, and what the Biden administration has done. And by the way, what we've seen our bureau, the FBI, what we've seen the CIA and other agencies do to this country by basically ripping apart the Constitution and weaponizing our government agencies, then, well, I don't know. Maybe we're too far. I'm going to talk to Mock and Daisy about this. Maybe we're a divided nation now. Maybe there are people that actually would like to have a government babysit them and give them a paycheck so that they don't have to work, so they don't have to worry about anything. Maybe they don't have any ambition. Maybe we have allowed teachers to raise our children for us when we should have been raising them ourselves and teaching them what's important, like Veterans Day. Like the men and women, like my father, my grandfather, my great-great-grandfathers. I'm a daughter of the revolution on my dad's side. I'm an first, born immigrant on my mom's side. And, the men and women in my family, on both sides of my family, believe in freedom. We're willing to die for it. We're willing to die for their country. My husband went to war. He was willing to die for his country, lost his eyes, but he was willing to die to protect the Constitution and the American people so that we wouldn't end up having to fight that enemy here, so that we wouldn't end up having, the Chinese army marching across our nation and taking control of us, so that we wouldn't end up having, the North Koreans once again, shooting missiles over our allies in Japan, right? So that we wouldn't have the threat of Vladimir Putin and Russian nuclear war over our heads, so that maybe our friends who did want to fight with us in Afghanistan could survive, and maybe, God willing, find a way to build a better nation than what's happened right now with a terrorist organization in charge. But instead, we have a lot of soul searching to do. And I'm sick of, I don't want everybody blaming Trump. If it wasn't perfect, the election wasn't perfect. We've got a lot of other people in the GOP that are to blame for this. Mitch McConnell, everybody else, ourselves. But I'm looking at the glass as half full. I know a lot of people out there are like really feeling negative because they wanted this big tsunami. But look, we're going to take Congress. We are. The GOP, I believe that is going to take Congress. We're still looking at a lot of different races. I can't make any predictions, and I sure as heck don't want to. But we still have a country to fight for. We still have a constitution that is beautiful and amazing and is giving inspiration to people from all over the world. Like I said, I was at the border. I'll fill you in on all of that on upcoming podcasts. But there's a reason why people are fleeing Venezuela, Cuba, other parts of the world, because not only are their economies shot under communism, but their lives, there's nothing left for them. There's just nothing left there for them. And the only place in the world where they feel that they have some hope is this beautiful country that almost all the ones that I've run into have never been in before. They hear about it, they read about it, they see pictures of it. Their family calls them and tells them this amazing nation where anybody from anywhere in the world can be anything that they want to be, if they work hard enough and they believe in themselves enough and they believe in their nation enough. And that's the United States of America. That's why our veterans should be honored today. That's why every American that went and voted, whether you voted for the left or the right or, whatever, or the Green Party, Libertarian, I don't even know. You should be honored today for doing your civic duty, and for taking the time to go vote. And we have to do a lot, like I said, a lot of self-reflection. And we have to realize what's worth fighting for. In my opinion, we are an exceptional nation. We should be a beacon on a hill. We should be the shining light for the rest of the world, and the rest of the world should look up to us and want to emulate us. And I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is this whole new generation of people that want to erase that. They want to erase our history. They want to take apart our Constitution. They believe that America, much like President Obama did and others, is a nation that should kind of deconstruct itself so that others could be uplifted. No. We're not gonna break ourselves down to make other people feel better. We are going to stand up, and we're going to stand up to the brutality that's in this world. And we're going to continue to do what we do best, which is be Americans, no matter where we are, no matter what part of the world we're from. And hopefully we'll continue to fight for this great nation. Hey, everyone, Chicks on the Right is coming right up right after I tell you about AMAC. It's the Association of Mature American Citizens, and it is a wonderful organization that will fight for you, fight for me, fight for our rights up in Washington, D.C. when we cannot be there. By joining AMAC, you are taking the first steps to saving the America that you love. AMAC offers an alternative to just about, every other benefit that other group offers, but without the liberal agenda. And I know you're tired of that liberal agenda. I stand with AMAC, and I hope that you will too. I encourage you to join today at amac.us/Carter. That's amac.us/Carter. The benefits of membership are great, but the cause is even greater. Join today at amac.us/Carter. If you guys aren't listening to Chicks on the Right, you need to be. Because your whole day will be lifted. It will be uplifted. You will be connected. I know, right? Because I've had a really rough night and a rough day. I was working out on the beat in the border. I was so excited. I wasn't going to miss this podcast with Mock and Daisy. I was not going to miss it. I was driving 90 miles an hour down Texas highways. Granted, the speed limit is sometimes 80, so I wasn't really going that fast. Yeah, it's I want to act like I'm cool, but I'm not. The cool kids were going 130, Mock and Daisy. I was at 90, thinking I was cool. And so I sped home just to get here for the podcast because I said I need some some time with friends, with women, where we can discuss like why Fetterman won last night.
Exactly. Like, what is going on in Pennsylvania? What's happening?
Okay, maybe aliens, guys, maybe aliens. I'm going to throw it to you. I feel like, some of those theories might aliens. Be real. There might be lizard people.
They're all living in Pennsylvania. I think Fetterman is an alien, right? I mean, we could throw out that theory that he actually is a walking alien.
Right.
Or just
another
thing on his neck
is like some sort of device.
That's what controls him. It's like in Men in Black, where it's like that's the control panel. Yeah.
It's like that movie Alien. It's like going to come, like something's going to come bursting out of it.
There was a whole meme. Memes are everywhere now, right? We're just memeing away. And whenever we get frustrated in society, if you're on the left, you're memeing Trump, right? Or whatever. You're just meme. So there's a lot of Fetterman memes out there. But the best one I saw, there was one where he and Joe Biden were holding each other's faces. And everything that came out of their mouth was gobbledygook. Like it didn't make any sense.
It's on our Instagram page. It was the first one that was put on our Instagram page. We were on it. We were on it.
So it
made no sense.
So we'll get serious because maybe I can't get serious because I still can't believe this is post-election. We all know what was bothering Americans. I mean, we see crime rates soaring, inflation. People go to the grocery store. They can't believe what's been happening. I'm so grateful that I live in Texas because
me too.
Thankfully, Beto was given a clear message, and that's very serious because I was worried. I was like, wait a minute.
But was it clear? Do you think it was clear? Because I think he's still going to run for stuff.
Well, but he just wants free stuff. He just wants...
It's not going to listen. He lost three times, Sarah. 3 times. And I think he's going to be like, what am I going to run for next? I think I'll run for some class president of a high school somewhere.
Oh,
Maybe
that's
I'll
a good one.
What am I going to run for? Because he constantly runs for crap. And he is a colossal loser. Like he's like Stacey Abrams. This is all these people know how to do is lose. And the Democrat Party keep propping these losers up.
No, they prop them up. They prop them up. And the strange thing is they have a big following, which then really is frightening to me because I'm like, wait a minute. It's exactly antithetical to everything that our nation stands for, what they stand for, right? They want everything free. They don't want to work for it. They want to pass out like scholarships like it's candy, we'll pay off your student loan. We'll do this for you. It's very much like the establishment of the Communist Party. And you see in other countries around the world, like that same mindset. So I was thinking about that on the drive home. And I tell you, I'm like, it has to be that our school systems, while we were asleep for generations, parents were busy working. They weren't paying as much attention to what their kids were doing. There was always that kind of like tension in families anyways. And the radicals literally started taking over our country. And that's what we have now. That's why Fetterman was voted in to office. To the Senate, for crying out loud, with his alien partner.
Right. Right.
Well, we underestimated, I think. We didn't, because I think Daisy and I were always very, probably me more so. I was a pessimist about this election, way more so than the polls were talking about. I mean, I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like all the hype. I don't like this red wave talk. I don't like it. And I think we all underestimated how much women want to kill babies.
Sarah, that's like not even single women, but just women young women, a lot of young women, and that's who we're like, we can't have our ability to kill babies taken away. And honestly,
it's so weird.
Right.
It's so weird and so demonic to say without trying to be in the religious connotation here. Yeah. I'm not trying to say that, but like as human beings, even animals protect their young. You know what I'm saying? Like they will throw themselves in front of a lion. You've seen that with zebras in Africa, or animals will do everything to protect their young. Human beings are now throwing their young at the enemy. They're like, oh, if it's weird, I'm throwing my baby in the middle of it. Like I've seen, and I meet young girls that are telling me, people that have graduated from GW. I interview them on the streets. I was at the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. when we were covering the issue of Roe versus Wade. And I couldn't believe, you guys, what I was hearing, where some young girls were telling me that they would like to have the right to terminate their child's life even after the child is born.
Oh my God. It's like, what the hell? And the thing is,
I couldn't get it. I had to walk away.
It's like, have they ever heard of birth control, first of all?
Right.
It's like, because we grew up in a time where we actually heard of that. There are ways to do that if you're wanting to do that. That's one. And two, they're doing this at the expense of the children that they already have, or children that live in the world, the children that live in the United States, their future, the economy, education stuff is on the line, the border, there's crime is out of control. So much stuff is going on. And it's like, they're like, la, 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 have to kill the babies, la, la, la. I mean, I'm like, what? These chicks are whack.
No, they are. And this is the tragedy here. Think about like what women were fighting for in the past, women's suffrage, the right to vote, the right to have a job, the right to be treated equally under the law. Yeah. Now it's like women are literally handing all of their rights and all of the things that make us so unique and beautiful and a part of this world, we're like throwing it away. It's like, I just saw, there was a pageant. I don't know if you saw this. There was a picture. It was a pageant that was associated with the Miss America pageant, Miss Deary or whatever. And it was a transgender man who won the pageant. He's like, I'm just going to be honest. He's like over 6 feet tall and he weighs like maybe 300 pounds in a red ball gown, surrounded by young girls. And they're all having to sit there and smile while this guy wins the pageant. And we're telling our young girls that, that the child inside them is worthless, is a worthless fetus, a worthless piece of fetus that you could get rid of whenever you want. They have no respect for their bodies or for who they are as women and what they can do. And it's actually really depressing. We have really transformed our society. And I'm not saying that, abortion isn't a tragic subject, but they're not even treating it as tragic anymore. They're having abortion parties, abortion cakes.
Well, did you see too in Montana that they voted down a referendum that would have required doctors to provide care to fetuses who survived abortions? So a baby is aborted, survives it, and Montanans who, Montana's a red state, but for some reason there were enough people that voted down this referendum to protect babies and get them the care that they need when they survive. I can't even believe that we have to have a law
to decide whether or not a human being that is already outside of the womb that we need to have a law to save them.
Yeah.
That we need to have a law to save them. And by the way, Montana, my son is in school there in Montana, and it is really going to the left. A lot of Californians, a lot of heavy money has gone into Montana. So they have it's metastasized. I feel like we've got a leftist regime that's like spreading across the country, right? Kind of like a cancer. And it's like, we're coming to a city near you. Welcome to Arizona.
Yeah.
Let's go to Arizona. Yeah, because you're hearing about it. I mean, I talk to people in Arizona. I have family there too. And my family's like, you don't even know how many people from California have moved here because they hate what's happened to California. But then they're voting everybody that had the same policies as California. I'm not going to complain because we got Congress back, right? We just saw some pretty, we will. I think. Gosh, Mock, stop.
Really? I know.
I know. That's right.
I'm just
You're
saying.
right. You're right. I'm going to get excited. And then it's going to be like, I'm going to be drinking out of a bottle of tequila. You guys are going to be calling me. I'm going to be crying in the corner. I'm going to just like the Terminator. I'm going to be praying for aliens.
listen.
That's true.
And it's true
because with life, I usually try to. I'm like, you know what? Set them low. I get anything, I'm happy. You know,
cautiously optimistic.
Like the breakfast burrito I ate at the gas station the other day. I was like, you know what? Anything right now would taste great. And and you know what? I looked at it twice, and I was like, this doesn't look so good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, first world problem, Sarah. Take a bite
and
of
then
that breakfast.
6 hours later. 6 hours later.
The world was ending.
Not good. Right.
I was like,
it's
why
like
did I do that?
It's the day after.
Yeah, right,
it's
right.
The day after. It's the day after the midterms all over again.
We're regular people, right? We're regular people. Sometimes we got to do regular things. You know what? Maybe you guys should take something to Zelensky. Maybe regular people. We should together come up with like a gift and fly it to Ukraine. And
I feel like
we're gonna be like Zelensky.
Right. See, that's the thing. He needs to give us a gift. I need him to give me a gift because I feel like he owes us some money at this point.
Well, let's talk about that.
We've got so many problems. We have so many problems here. We have so many things that need to be taken care of here. We're hemorrhaging money.
We are
hemorrhaging money,
and our children are suffering. And we have crime through the roof. I mean, do you hear this from you have a huge audience. They join you every morning. You've got moms. You've got, I think you got dads too, a lot of dads, and people that are watching your show, they're regular Americans that are venting, and I hear it as well. What are they saying to you? What is the thing that they're most concerned about? Like, especially your audience. Because I am your audience. I think like them. Just a regular person.
Well, I think the economy, I think the economy is the biggest one. I mean, because people are like gas, groceries, all the things that cost them, their 401ks.
Right.
They look at their 401ks and they're like, we're paying for these yahoos' retirements. What about my retirement? Nobody pays for my retirement. I pay for my retirement. That sort of thing. We get, regular everyday people who are, upset about that kind of thing and having to pay for their kids' college and all that, all the things, but they take personal responsibility for all those things. And then, these people are worried about stapling money to the clouds to change the weather, because they're like, oh, we're God now. You give us more of your money and we're going to change the weather. Can you just help us get gas prices down, you idiots? This is the kind of stuff. And we could do that if they would just quit with this green energy stuff.
Right.
And they would focus on, drilling here, which we have plenty of resources to do that. And they just won't do it because they're so hell bent on all of this green energy stuff. And they're doing it on purpose with purpose. They want to change. They want to fundamentally transform America.
Well, and
right?
it's not really about, and you're right. And it's not really about protecting the environment or all that. I mean, maybe for the younger people that have bought into this, the reality is it's like almost an ideology, a religion. The way that you can seize a government or seize the political will of the people, I think is twofold. Through these environmental regulations taking over, people's access to energy and, being in control of energy, being the energy giants, right? That's what the United States is not going to be, the energy giant. We saw him turn that all over to Vladimir Putin, which was really strange considering he's supposed to be the enemy. Vladimir Putin seems to have a lot of power when it comes to being the energy leader in the world and putting Europe right on the brink of utter destruction this winter and playing with us. But also not just that, but what we saw happen with COVID. And I'm seeing that, people are talking about this. Look, we're giving up our rights, our fundamental rights in our Constitution. We're like giving that up for what? For what?
Yeah.
Does that ever worry you?
It's such a great point.
I mean...
we talked about that yesterday when we were traveling. Miriam and I had a conversation about that yesterday when we were waiting for our plane. And I was like, I thought I would never see the day when I saw family members of mine. I mean, people in my family willingly and just, so easily give up their rights to the government. I just can't. I don't think I'll... Right.
And expect others to do the same. I mean, and criticizing people who didn't want to get vaxxed, didn't want to wear masks, criticizing them as if they're somehow these absolute menaces to society.
Yeah.
And not recognizing that we should all have a right.
Well, and they never proved it. And they never proved it to anyone.
Ourselves.
And now, in fact, there's a lot of questioning going on. Senator Rand Paul wants to conduct a full and thorough investigation if the GOP takes control of the Senate. If, Miriam, because she's or the House. I mean, and they really, and we need these investigations. But in the end, who's going to hold them accountable? I feel like we've kind of lost control of our system, and I don't know how we get it back.
I truly believe that we have. Like, I feel very helpless in that respect. Like, I feel like they have taken control, and so many people have bought into the notion of government knows best. It's like, and that to me shows you how little they know about the founders, how little they know about civics, how little we teach our kids in school about those things. And that makes me sad. That is so much wrapped up in education and the lack thereof. Like, these kids don't know crap about what our country is all about. And that's what I teach my kid that. I have to teach it to her because they do not teach her in school.
And that's really scary because that's really what happens. I was talking to, folks that pouring across the border, right? Just pouring from Venezuela, from Cuba, from everywhere. And it's crazy. We shouldn't have this wide open border. We shouldn't be allowing people from all over the world to pour in. Last night, at 2 a.m, our Border Patrol, as well as the Texas DPS, local law enforcement, Texas game wardens, were out on the highway 90 miles in Falfurrias County, right? Just going across the whole area looking for bailouts. People that were running into the country, bailing out. These are people that don't want to turn themselves in. These are a lot of them are the criminals, right? And we're running across, the county land, which is mostly it's farmland owned by ranchers out there too. Private land, private property. And I met a rancher last night who thought he was going to bed, but instead he had to come out and fix a fence line that a truck had busted through. But the reason I bring that up is people are coming from communist countries, and you talk about education, and you're right on the money, Daisy, because when you think about education in Cuba, in Venezuela, in North Korea, in Iran, everywhere in the world where people have no ability to make their own decisions or think for themselves, where the government has taken full control, they start in the education system because they know they're not going to win us over. They know you and I have already been taught about the founding fathers. We believe in freedom. We're going to teach it to our kids. But if they get those generations that are not being taught that, and they brainwash them into believing that this is the worst nation on earth, and that, it's better that we lead from behind, as Obama said, which whatever that means, like, I have never heard. That is like the stupidest statement I have ever, like, that's just dumbass, right? Dumb. That's dumbass. I would call them out on that too. These dumbass. Yeah. But lead from behind, now what we've seen is 3 or 4 generations that have been indoctrinated, and they're voting Fetterman in and his alien.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely.
Well, and it's the one reason that I'm actually, I actually have a little bit of gratitude about the fact that CRT infested our schools. And the reason for the gratitude is because it finally woke up parents to pay attention to what's going on in schools. So now I feel like conservatives are sort of galvanized to really be hyper-focused on what's going on in the classrooms. Yeah. And before, think about how complacent we all were.
Right.
We
really COVID
assumed that kids were getting the same education we got. And for 2 decades at least now, they have not been. And that is also one of the big explanations for what we just saw on election night. So many young people just are like, I have bought into the wokeness and I am voting all blue. I mean, that's one of the other reasons. They want to kill babies and they are completely tarnished.
Well, this is interesting. This big midterm exit poll, and it's married men favored the GOP by like 20 points. Married women favored GOP only by 14 points, was a little less. But single men favored the GOP by 7 points. Single women favored Democrats by 37 points. guys. 37 points.
It's abortion.
Yeah. So it's abortion. But how do we reach single women? How do we do that? How do we get the word out?
Yeah.
How do we bring them back?
Right.
They got to get married.
But that's a whole other thing, though. It's like the feminist movement has warped a lot of those women, though, too. And feminism isn't what feminism used to be. Because we've seen such a morphing of feminism over the past 15 years, since we've been doing this. And like, I mean, it's not the Camille Paglia, feminism that feminism used to be. Because feminism used to be, used to actually fight for women and women's rights. Feminism now is literally like free the nipple, but don't look at my nipple, kill the babies.
No, you're so right. You're so right. And it's like this weird twisted feminism where men who want to be women, the feminists, will put on a pedestal. Like, I don't even understand how that happens. Well, my sisters, I call them my sisters. I traveled in the Middle East and Persia, and I spent a lot of time in South Asia. The young women of Iran are standing in the street saying, I just want to be able to show my hair a little bit, and I'm getting murdered.
Yes.
I'm getting murdered. And there's no women here standing up for them. I don't see it in overwhelming numbers. Right? What happened to that?
And they're not standing up for girls who are getting, their sports taken over by biological dudes.
Biological men. I don't care how much, and I want every man out there to listen to this, how much you want to be a woman. If you don't have a uterus, or you cannot have, I guess you could be a woman, not have a uterus, but if you're not the XYXX chromosomes, if you get that blood tested, that's who you are. You can think it all you want. I'm sorry. You can think it. I'm not going to take away what they think, but don't ask me to accept the fact that a man can nurse a baby or that a man, is having his period, because he's not.
Right.
I'm just going to be frank. Does that bother you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, it doesn't bother. No. And years from now, they can dig us up after we're dead and gone. And they're going to be able to tell
I say that all the time.
Who a woman was and who a man was by what they dig up. Right. It doesn't matter what you dressed as. Doesn't matter what you think you transitioned to. They're going to be able to tell. They can tell, because that is, it's you are assigned that at birth. Right.
That's who you are.
I mean, it's like that's who you are.
Why do you think they're doing this, though, guys? Why? In your opinion, why do you think they're pushing this so hard, the left? That this kind of murky ground where they're telling young children, confusing them, saying, you don't need to listen to your parents. You may not know what sex you are yet. Or where a man's in love with a vehicle or a tree, and we have to accept the fact that somebody thinks they're a dog. And I don't know. Why do you think this is happening? Because this is really, I think it's a very serious issue in our society.
Yeah, it is serious.
I think it's all about control, and that it is a way of creating generations of useful idiots. Because if you can get a bunch of people to be able to say openly and with no shame that men can be women and vice versa, you can get them to believe almost anything. You know what I mean? Like, that, to me, it's all about this insidious control. It's the same way they've indoctrinated our kids in the schools. It's gross, but it's all. This is how society crumbles.
And I feel that way about climate change too, Sarah. Like, I mean, not to bring a lot of religion into it, but when you take God out of things, people have to find something to follow, and that is why climate change has become such a freaking cult. They are cultists, those people. I mean, bottom line,
said that.
They're lunatics, and they follow it like a cult. They follow it like a religion. It is a religion for those people. So while they make fun of people who are Christians and they believe in God, they have replaced God with that. You see what I'm saying?
Oh.
And so like that has become a religion unto itself. And those people are maniacal about weather.
Oh.
It's just crazy.
100%. And I agree with you on that. And I think especially when you're dealing with people like AOC and you have these young lawmakers that come out with all of these crazy ideas, but it's not just them. When I first saw her come out and she was talking about the new green movement and they were going to pass this green budget, and it was so insane. I mean, we knew it was never going to pass, right? But it was astonishing how many young people actually jumped on board and were like, yeah, let's do it. This is we're going to save the world. We're going to save the planet. And I think you're right. I think it's because they don't have a lot to believe in. I think there's like this vacuum. And I think we as a nation really have to get back there, guys, to find out. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to win it back. You know, I mean, I have hope. I try to be an optimist when it comes to these things. And I think I am when I see what happened in Florida. That sounds pretty good. I mean, we know right now, I mean, DeSantis and I bet you that made you both so happy, right? Because DeSantis just ripped apart like Charlie Crist, right? So, I mean, we're seeing that there are pockets where people have common sense and they're standing up for what's right. And I think DeSantis really showed what strong leadership can do when he said, you know what? You're not going to have surgery on children anymore. We're not going to do these weird gender reassignments. You have to let parents know what's going on in the school systems. And by the way, they get through the election with flying colors and they get everything done in like a few hours. I mean, the polls shut down and everybody knows who won. How can Florida do that and not Arizona?
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
It's disgusting what's happening in Arizona and Nevada. It's just, it's stomach turning how badly run those.
And it's just, and listen, Florida shows a divide. It shows like a definite divide between what conservatives want and what liberals want, right? You look at like a Ron DeSantis and what he represents. Like you look at just him and his family. Right. He represents everything. I mean, he is like the embodiment of conservatism. Look at his family. Right. I mean, that's what we all love that. We represent family. Liberals hate that. They want to rip apart the family. They despise the family, which is what all the things that we've talked about, like all, the transgenderism and like just the whole, and just the idea of the American family, it disgusts them. They want to rip it apart. They want the school system to be these kids' family. They don't want the family to be the actual family, which is why they want to keep secrets from people's, from these kids' families when they talk about transgenderism and stuff like, I mean, they don't like it. They want to rip it apart. They want to destroy it. So Florida is such the embodiment of that. Right. And they hate it. They hate him.
And you're absolutely right. And Mock, you said it. You were glad CRT came out, that it was like, that focus on what was happening in our schools really woke up parents, woke up kind of like the sleeping giant. I think they really did in Virginia, which was purple. And this was the last election where Governor Glenn Youngkin actually did this amazing like takeover, right? When Terry McAuliffe came out and was like, yeah, you know what? Parents shouldn't be involved in their kids' education.
Right.
But it goes to the but, right? Yeah. We're divided. People are moving. We saw how many people have moved into Florida. It was like around 1 million that moved in were GOP. So is our country, I guess, maybe as we wrap this up, like is our country splitting apart? Are we becoming two different nations? Is that worry you? I mean,
we've talked about that. We've talked about how I always say that I want a divorce from these people because I think that we have irreconcilable differences. I don't think we're ever going to work it out. Maybe that is the pessimist in me. I just don't know if I can do that with some, because I think that they believe in very different things than I know I do.
Right. It used to be that Democrats and Republicans wanted the same thing, but had different ideas on how to get there. Now we just want totally different things. And so I don't see how you can.
Right. So just give us Texas.
Right. To use their phrase.
Texas, Florida, South Carolina. We gotta squish them together kind of. We got to take all the states, the in-betweens too, just so we.
Right.
So we can give them California. Give them California.
Totally, they can have California.
They can just, whatever. I'm not even worried about that. Totally. Just pile up in
but
there
I honestly
in New York.
think that, I feel like we're moving in that direction, though. I know that sounds crazy to some people, but I feel like we are morphing in that direction just because people are starting to move to the free states. We're doing it organically, and it's going to be interesting to see how people do this in the next 10 years.
Well, it was like the settlers, right? It was like the settlers in the Old West just moving out, and now people are actually doing it. It is like an ideological movement. It's like I'm packing my bags and I'm leaving, and I'm going to go to a place where I know fundamentally those values are important, and my neighbors and I will have the same fundamental values, but they used to be American values. This is what scares me. It used to be that, when my husband put on his uniform and goes out to war and he fights next to someone who maybe from New York City or Brooklyn, maybe totally different than what he was raised in Idaho, it didn't matter because they were fighting for the same country, for the same principles, for the same belief. And now I'm like, wait a minute, what is happening here? There are people that really do not love our Constitution, really believe it should be fundamentally changed, really believe that the Second Amendment should be ripped out and everything else. And I think that, I know we're coming to the end of this conversation here. I could keep them forever, guys. I could keep Mock and Daisy. And they would be so exhausted. They would be like drinking their coffee. It'd be like 10 years later. 10 years later, we're still talking.
We did.
Listen, we
did 4 hours.
Election night extra.
I think that's...
And we only peed once.
Hours.
We only peed one time.
Come on. Were you doing the astronaut thing? Don't tell me that.
No. And we were drinking. We were drinking Prosecco. So, I feel like that was pretty good.
That was amazing. Really well. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I know I was going to do an election night party, but I decided I was going to go out on the border and see what was going on and go out for 3 nights on this operation. And I realized, I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm really tired.
We were tired. Believe me, we were so tired by the end of it.
I would have loved to have been watching you and having my glass of wine and just texting you while you guys were doing the... I would have rather done that. Well, is there any hope? Is there any, wisdom that you can partake here? Because I know a lot of everyone who's listening right now, I know how you're feeling too. We're all feeling the same way. Our families are divided. Our nation is seemingly divided. Our communities feel divided. I don't know what to tell people. I don't know what to say. There's no answer on my part. Just maybe a little bit of hope, a little bit of optimism that if something happens...
The only thing I always say to people is get involved locally because it does matter. And a lot of people feel super helpless, but I became a precinct chair in my community and I feel like, okay, that helps a little bit. And you do feel like you're doing something or get involved in a local school board or just, run for city council people think that they don't make a difference, but those things do make a difference and all politics starts locally. It really does. And so I truly believe that conservatives have to get involved locally. You have to. You just have to.
Right.
And so...
And I think in some of the smaller local and state races, Republicans did have a good night. So it is making, we're making some inroads. I think we look to Florida as sort of the new shining beacon of what we want for the rest of the country. And just work towards that as a goal and hopefully inspire more Ron DeSantis.
So what do you guys think, 2024? What do you think's him?
Got to be him. It's got to be. I really think he's the force. We have to have young blood. I think we need somebody to get excited about. It's got to be. She's been on that train for a long time, and I've just been sort of let me see how this all plays out. But now that I've seen his win in Florida, you can totally see she's been on the train for quite some time. Hello. Yeah. I know. He's got a restraining order against her.
Poster, lifelike poster sitting right behind you.
Seriously, there's total. I'm waiting for the restraining order against her for real. But I think it's him. And then, a good maybe female running. There's so many great Republican conservative females in our party that are there. That would be a slam dunk for him. And if he's running against Biden, are you kidding? Kidding?
It's a win-win-win all the way around. And I agree with you. I think find the best person for the job, but there are some fantastic female GOP, and I could name them. I'm not going to right now, but I think you and I are probably thinking on the same line, but there are some, and I think that would be brilliant on his part. Whether he decides to do that now, I know some people have said, well, he could do 8 years, if Trump does 4 years or this or that. I think it's way too early, and we shouldn't be labeling and trying to predict who is going to be there. I think it's going to sift itself out. The American people are going to figure it out, and the GOP is going to figure it out. And, you know, the leaders in the Republican Party are going to figure it out. That's both Ron DeSantis and, you know, former President Donald Trump. And I do believe in the end, they're going to do what's right for this country, because in the end, that's it. That's all we have left right now. We have to do what's right. We have to unify. I don't think if the GOP doesn't unify, it's going to be a long time, maybe never, that we'll ever see ourselves there again. I mean, if that's the only way that the Dems could win this, is if the GOP rips itself apart.
Oh my God, the only way. It's
right.
The only way.
Okay, so now everybody, you heard Mock and Daisy. We got to get together. We got to start. We got to get out there. We got to get involved in our communities. We got to think positive, not negative. You know, this is a good sign. This tells us we have a lot of work to do. But I think everything that's worth fighting for is worth the fight, right? I mean, it's not going to come easy.
Definitely.
It's not going to come easy. Okay, everyone, I'm wrapping it up right now with a great story. Just leave you with a little bit of thought here. Twitter is now telling its advertisers, I'm telling you, Twitter is going to grow under Elon Musk. People, if you haven't invested in Twitter, I don't know, you're going to be crazy not to, because I believe this company is going to be a company of the future. And it's not just going to be about sending tweets. But right now, Twitter is telling advertisers that its user growth is at all-time highs under Elon Musk. And during the first full week of Elon Musk owning the platform. Think about that. Musk's dramatic takeover, he didn't listen to anybody's BS. They were all putting him down. They were saying that he wasn't going to go anywhere with this. People thought he wasn't even going to buy it. He eventually went through with the buyout. Now he has all kinds of plans to make Twitter profitable. And I'm all about capitalism. I'm all about making it profitable. If this company is going to grow, it's going to grow because people are going to be investing in it. Twitter's monetizable daily user, that's its MDAU growth, has accelerated, to listen to this, to more than 20% since he's taken over. While Twitter's largest market, the US, is growing even more quickly, according to internal FAQ obtained by The Verge, that was shared with Twitter's sales team on Monday to use in conversations with its advertisers. And I think this is important. Twitter has added more than 15 million. Think about this. MDAUs, crossing the 250 million mark since the end of the second quarter, when it stopped reporting financials as a public company. I got to tell you right now, my Twitter growth it's never been like this in a long time. It's been years. That Twitter before, they had an algorithm that literally kept me at a certain number. And every time I would go over, I could never get to 1.4 million, because anytime I would get anywhere near that, they would drop me down. And it wouldn't be just bots. It would be an algorithm. I would literally watch it happen. Right now, thanks to you, thanks to Twitter, thank you, Elon Musk, I am well over 1.4 million and growing. And I think it's an awesome platform. I can't wait to see the future of Twitter. And remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Sara Carter DC. That's on Twitter at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at Sara Carter DC. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless the chicks on the right, and God bless the great state of Texas.